Hello, today we'll be talking about DoSAA's 2022 Summer Fellowship Program. Click, okay. So what is the Summer Fellowship Program, or SFP for short? It's an opportunity for graduate and student members to receive mentorship from professionals in the field of South Asian mental health. It's a great opportunity for graduate students to hone in any interests they might have either in the past, or maybe they might have interests that are budding in the areas of either research, clinical work with South Asians, leadership, or community building as it relates to South Asian mental health. The purpose of the program is to create and complete a project that is related to South Asian mental health and can be in any of these 4 categories, or be a combination of a couple of them. And the one really big benefit of this is that it allows graduate students and mentors alike to foster connections with one another, to build networks, and get to know others who are in the field of South Asian mental health. So looking at the timeline, keep in mind that these dates might be subject to change, but this is the timeline as of April 8th. So the application deadline is currently April 22nd, but it's Friday by the end of the day. Fellows and mentors are expected to be matched by Monday, May 2nd. During this time, you will receive an email from the Summer Fellowship team saying that you have been matched with this person. And at that point, you are expected to, communicate with your mentor or fellow, and work through how you will regularly communicate with one another, what your project is going to look like, and kind of start to build that relationship. Something new that we are doing this year in order to kind of give mentors a little bit more information and feedback on what types of mentorship suggestions we might have, and what to answer any questions they might have about expectations, is that we'll be hosting a mentor orientation session. And this is anticipated to be between mid to late May. Once fellows and mentors are matched, we will reach out to mentors individually to figure out the best date and time to have that session. And then at that point, the bulk of the work kind of is between the months of June and September. We will have monthly cohort meetings. This is 1 day a month that is about 1.5 to 2 hours, where we will meet as a cohort all together, all mentors, all fellows. And it's an opportunity for folks to, share their project ideas, maybe, get suggestions from one another about how to, improve the project idea, or have any questions answered from the fellowship team as well. We'll also provide some educational information as well that can support that process for both fellows and mentors. Once fellows and mentors are matched, we'll reach out about what days and times best work. Last year, they were on Sundays around 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. That may or may not be the same time this year. Will depend highly on the availability of everybody this year. Once the fellowship program ends, which is anticipated around October 2nd, we will have some form of a showcase. This is dependent on the comfort level of the fellows and mentors this year, depending on if it's a more private showcase within the DoSAA community or within the fellowship program itself, or if there's interest in having it be more broad, so to maybe raise more awareness about South Asian mental health to a broader community, possibly AAPA, or maybe even broader than that. And that's something that we will discuss, and as more opportunities become available, we'll definitely communicate that with the Summer Fellowship Program as well. So who can apply? Pretty simple. So fellows must be current graduate students, either in master's or doctorate programs in a mental health or allied field. So this can be psychology, social work, marriage and family therapy, etc. And you must also have an interest in either research, clinical work, leadership, or community building related to South Asian mental health. I'm probably seeing a theme here. And then mentors must be either early career or mid-career professionals who have completed their graduate training. So you have graduated from your graduate program, but you do not need to be licensed. So you can be, postdoc, pre-licensure, an associate, something like that. You also must have some form of prior experience in either research or clinical work or leadership or community building related to South Asian mental health. And while prior mentorship experience is not required, it is a plus that does help to support the work you're doing with the fellows. And while you don't currently need to be a DoSAA member, by the time you start the fellowship program, you do need to have obtained DoSAA membership. And so there is a section on the application for you to denote that. So what are some of the responsibilities? So fellows are responsible for establishing 1 to 2 structured goals for mentorship. This actually is asked on the application itself. So kind of lets you start, putting those ideas together now. And then once you have those goals established and once you are matched with your mentor, you're expected to communicate those goals and collaborate with your mentor approximately 2 to 4 hours a month. This is outside of the monthly cohort meetings. And this can be in whatever form you and your mentor find as best, whether it's email or texting or virtual Zoom meetings or in-person meetings if you two happen to be in the same area, whatever works best for both parties. You are expected to complete a specific and short-term project within that program timeframe, so by early October. And you are also, during those monthly calls, expected to actively engage with one another, support one another, and really foster that sense of community within the fellowship program. And then, of course, as mentioned prior, you will present your project in some way, shape, or form at the end of the fellowship, and we'll discuss what that might look like as the program goes more forward. Now, for mentors, once again, you are expected to be available to communicate and collaborate with your fellow about 2 to 4 hours a month, be able to, respond to any questions they have in a timely manner, not waiting weeks on end to respond. You're expected to offer your guidance and support based on your prior experience and knowledge, help your fellow brainstorm topics, narrow down projects, kind of, identify, areas of growth within that project. Maybe there's gaps that they haven't noticed that if you can point that out will really help them in shaping their project. In general, supporting your fellows' personal and professional growth based on their pre-identified mentorship goals, supporting your fellow in accessing necessary resources. So if you don't have the answer, but you know someone else who does, be connecting them and really fostering that to allow them to grow as much as possible in this fellowship. And then if any questions or issues arise, which they can arise, making sure that you're communicating them as soon as possible with the summer fellowship program team, which consists of myself, Rose Dollywall, and Gitanjali Vij, as well as 2 volunteers. Make sure you're communicating with us and so that we can help kind of figure all that out with you. What are some benefits? So we actually last year asked our fellows and mentors during kind of a debriefing session of sorts to, share what was the benefit that you got from this fellowship program? How did it help you? And they shared that it really allowed them to feel empowered to connect further with other South Asians who are involved in mental health advocacy, research, and clinical work. It gave them the opportunity to connect with South Asian mentors. Many people did not have South Asian mentors in their lives or in their institutions or in their clinical work. And so it was a great opportunity for them to find South Asian mentors. It allowed them to develop new skills that are really valuable for any of their future goals, whether related or unrelated. Many fellows and mentors actually continued the professional relationships that they'd formed past the fellowship, and it's something we actually often encourage and hope that continues to go forward. It fosters connections and more networking opportunities for both mentors and fellows alike. Some mentors noted that they were able to meet, colleagues who were at a similar stage in their career trajectory that they would not have had the opportunity to meet with otherwise, and really share kind of the experiences of one another and find support from one another. And then for those individuals who maybe are not working in academia or are not supervising trainees in clinical work, but are still interested in offering mentorship, this is a great opportunity for those folks because it allows you to have that outside of your work. So tips for creating project ideas. The first one is to have a structured projected timeline. So what would really help to make sure that you're staying on track and that you're not, creating a project that's too big and just not feasible. It's recommended that you look at what the end date is and kind of work backwards to create, a schedule that allows you to know, what am I going to do each week or each month to make sure I'm on track. Another big one is to not aim too big. This is not a dissertation or thesis. This is a small summer-based project. So you want to create something that's bite-sized, that it keeps in mind the time constraints that you have. Also have fun. Explore new topics and areas that you might not have thought of doing before. Get out of your comfort zone. This can be really fun. It is what you make it. So highly recommend getting out of your comfort zone. Also be really mindful of your other commitments, whether that's school or work or research or clinical training or family and social life. And yes, social life is very important and it is a commitment as well. Be very mindful of that and don't overcommit yourself. And then also think beyond clinical practice and conventional research. There are far more ways to make an impact in mental health than research and clinical practice. And so really get creative. Now, past fellows have often asked, what kinds of projects can I do? And so this is not an exhaustive list, but it might help to get those wheels turning and help you kind of figure out what you might be interested in doing. So one idea is to create maybe a health pamphlet that allows you to identify warning signs of mental health conditions, something maybe you can share with others. I know one fellow in the past did a health pamphlet identifying warning signs for eating disorders among South Asian American women. You can possibly propose a skills-based intervention. You don't necessarily have to do it because we're not trying to get IRB approval here. So, you're not necessarily doing a full-scale research project. Maybe you can propose an intervention that maybe you can take further, in your academic area. Others have done a multimedia oral history, so maybe you can do one specific to a specific population in relation to mental health. You can create an infographic on a specific topic based on the review of the literature. You can create a webinar to maybe educate others on a specific topic related to South Asian mental health. You can propose or host a workshop, propose or host a community building event, or you can offer culturally informed tips for self-care. The most important thing is that you get creative and have fun.